carbon farming. You must have seen this in the Hindu. You know? In the Hindu, this was in news. Why this was in news? First, we'll talk about this, what this issue is, what is carbon farming, what are the problems associated with it, what are the solutions associated with it. We'll also look at some relevant, again, PYQs, which we always do. But before that, let's take a look at this question, which was asked in 2018. Which of the following statements best describes carbon fertilization? Increased plant growth due to increased concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, increased temperature of earth due to increased concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, increased acidity of oceans as a result of increased concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, adaptation of all living beings on earth to the climate change brought about by the increased concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. What is carbon fertilization? What is the logical option, or what seems the most correct options according to the word? Do the word play. Carbon fertilization. Yes, that is the correct answer. That is the correct answer. What is happening is, so a plant takes carbon dioxide for their growth, for photosynthesis, and they release oxygen and water and all those things. Because there is greenhouse gas which is happening, greenhouse gas emission which is happening, and there is carbon dioxide concentration which is increasing in the environment. Because of that, there is premature growth kind of situation that is being called carbon fertilization. That's not a good thing. If that is done deliberately, on a farm by providing extra carbon, then that is fine. But if that is changing the natural processes, then that is not a good thing. Make sense? Okay. Now, let's talk about carbon farming. So, since there has been a question on carbon fertilization, can there be a question on carbon farming? Both are completely different things. There can be a question. So, write down a question. Write down, what do you understand by carbon farming? How it can help? What do you understand by carbon farming? How it can help in fighting the challenge of climate change, right? Also, write further, mention some of the initiatives taken at the national and international level for carbon farming, right? You'll write this question. So this becomes important, not from the mains, not only from the prelims point of view, but also from the point of view of mains. Okay, let's take a look at the practice of carbon farming, what this practice is, right? Bear with me for 5 minutes. Carbon is found in all living organisms, right? We all have read about carbon cycle, right? We all know that photosynthesis and respiration takes place on Earth, and in that carbon plays a very important role. right? Okay. What is farming? What is farming? Huh? Yes, practice of cultivating land, raising crops or livestock for food, fiber, fuel, right? Carbon farming is a practice whereby you try to sort of balance agriculture activities with reducing greenhouse gas emission, or you try to increase uh, the sequestration of carbon dioxide, right? Make sense or not? Right? Yes, ma'am. Yes. I'll come to that. I'll come to that. When you put carbon dioxide out of environment into some other resource whereby it is not affecting the environment, or it is not working as a greenhouse gas. So a lot of mines, right? You put a lot of carbon into that. So there was an experiment in Norway whereby they were trying to sequester carbon dioxide from the environment and trying to put it in abandoned mines, right? So just bear with me for 5 minutes and I'll take all the questions, right? Okay. So carbon farming combines farming, uh, carbon sequestration. How it does that? It applies a lot of practices. So regenerative agriculture, right? It restores agriculture. It restores ecosystems health. Meanwhile, also giving benefits to farmers, right? How it does that? There are some practices. There are some good practices, right? Which a farmer can take or can undertake, which can help in climate change. How? I told you, I told you before that rice farming is the biggest source of methane emission, right? Or when you do tillage, when you do tillage, it also gives rise to a lot of other issues. That's why a lot of farmers are adopting zero tillage so that it does not disturb the balance. Does that make sense? Okay. So all these practices are used by farmers to increase the climate friendly agriculture practices, right? And that is considered carbon farming. What can be those practices? Let's take a look at that. Let's take a look at what are those practices. So we have understood what is carbon farming. In agriculture practices, if you undertake some steps which are helping in restoration of the environment, or which is helping in reducing greenhouse gas, that is carbon farming, right? Normal agriculture, but you taking some steps that is helping in regeneration of the environment, or which is increasing the carbon holding capacity of different ecosystems, that is carbon farming. As simple as that, right? No rocket science, right? Okay. This helps how you can undertake this? By doing agroforestry, by doing conservation agriculture, and by doing integrated nutrient management, or by practicing livestock management and land restoration in sustainable manner. How? When you do agroforestry, you plant some trees, and those trees take carbon dioxide from the environment, right? That decreases greenhouse gas in the environment, right? Make sense? Okay. Again, I just told you, you can also undertake zero tillage, right? Or crop rotation, right? Or mulch covers, mulch cropping, right? Or you can leave the residue of the crop in the field itself, right? All these comes in sustainable agriculture practices. They also help in uh, uh, carbon farming, or reducing the carbon from the environment, right? Or helping reducing the greenhouse gases in the environment, right? All these practices, all these sustainable practices are part of what? Carbon farming. which one technique we have discussed before, which was part of carbon farming about rice? System of rice intensification. That will be considered carbon farming because that reduces what? Methane, and ultimately methane becomes what? Carbon dioxide. That will be considered in that. Okay. Now, by doing integrated nutrient management or by doing integrated farming, what you do? The waste which is getting generated on your farm, you use that as a manure, or the fertilizers or other pesticides and all those things which you are using on your on farm, you reduce that, you reduce its consumption. So you know that, let's say you are using 10 kgs of pesticides today. In its manufacturing, there might be some release of greenhouse gas in a company. So if you reduce your consumption of pesticides, or if you do better nutrients cycling, that will also reduce carbon dioxide. That will also be part of carbon farming. Make sense? Is that clear? Okay. All these practices, livestock management strategies, you must read about it. Just a very interesting case study. One of the tribes in Arunachal Pradesh, they grow rice, fish, and pigs on the same farm and same land. And there is a very circular economic structure they have created, whereby the waste from this pig farm becomes the food for fishes, or the water from fish pond becomes the water for irrigation of agricultural land, and that has better nutrients, right? So this is a very circular economic structure where there is no wastage, right? So read about it. Aptani rice culture practices. If you can read about it, read about it. Aptani. This is a tribe called Aptani tribe. They have a very interesting rice cultivation strategy. Okay. Okay. Now, regions which have long growing seasons or sufficient rainfall or sufficient or substantial irrigation are best suited for carbon farming, because they provide best conditions, right? In dry conditions, the process of carbon sequestration is not that effective, right? So again, sorry, I told you, removing the carbon dioxide from the environment and putting it where it is not affecting or where it is not working as a greenhouse gas, right? You sequester the carbon from the environment. I give you the example of which country? Norway. Yes. Okay. So why irrigation is important? Because let's say if you are doing agroforestry, it will need good irrigation, it will need good water management practices. But if you are in a dry land area, agroforestry will be hard to undertake. Where there is not sufficient rainfall or where there is not proper irrigation channels, it becomes hard to practice carbon farming. It is also challenging in hot and dry seasons because again water is limited, and it needs this process needs a little better water management practices, right? So these are some challenges, right? Okay. The practice of cover cropping. You know what is cover cropping? Cover cropping. So in which there are multiple rows of agriculture produce, and that works in an integrated manner. This would also require more irrigation, better irrigation practices. Again, if the conditions are dry or the environment is humid, it again becomes hard to practice the carbon farming. It becomes hard to do the carbon farming in that areas. Okay. Now, it also might be very financially not lucrative for farmers initially, right? So, for example, these practices of micro irrigation are very, very good for the farms, but are they financially feasible or are they economically feasible for the farmers? They're very resource intensive. They might not able to undertake those. right? They want to help in the environment conservation, but due to lack of resources, they are not able to do that. Okay, so it might also need financial assistance. The next issue which is there in countries like India is we have very small farmlands, right? The land is very fragmented, right? So carbon farming need bigger farms, right? Larger farms, so that the integration can happen in a much more efficient way. That is also one challenge, right? Okay. These are some practices which are going on that is not important for us from exam point of view. What is important is this initiative, 4 per 1000 initiative. This was launched in COP21 in 2015 by France. What does this initiative say? It says when the plant dies and decomposes, right? Living organisms in the soil, such as bacteria or fungi or earthworms, transform it into organic matter, right? It becomes organic matter. This organic matter is also very what rich? Carbon rich, right? This is also very carbon rich, right? And this is also very important for this whole cycle, whole geomorphological cycles, whole carbon cycles, right? It retains water, it retains carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus, it retains all those things, right? Which are essential for plant growth, right? But along with all these benefits, it also holds enormous potential for carbon storage. So they are saying that the world's soil have more carbon than the atmosphere, 2 to 3 times more carbon than the atmosphere. So if you increase this organic matter content, or if you increase the topsoil, of 30 to 40 centimeters by just 0.4% or 0.4 or 4 per 1000, right? This would immensely be beneficial for fighting climate change or reducing the greenhouse gas emission. That is why the name 4 per 1000 initiative, right? So from this article, what did we learn? What is carbon farming? How is that helpful in reducing greenhouse gas and fighting climate change? And what are some of the initiatives which are being undertaken at the global level? Okay, make sense? You got what is 4 per 1000? They are saying just increase it by 0.4%. 0.4, that is it. And by 0.4 they mean 4 per 1000. That's why the name 4 per 1000. If you change 0.4% into per 1000 term, right? Per 1000 term, it becomes 4 per 1000. This is the name of the initiative. Make sense? Is that clear? Okay. It's not a normative target. It is just a direction which every country should follow, right? The name for this initiative is also Soils for Food Security and Climate. Now, you know when this initiative was launched? When was this launched? 2015 in COP21. By which country? France, right? Okay. Now, you have written that question, carbon farming wala, right? So, from this question, there can be a potential question in mains as well as in prelims. And this is an important aspect because this is quite a new terminology, which is again in the news. So, either in 2024 or 2025, there might be a probable question from this topic. Make sense? Okay. Let's take a look at some of the PYQs which have come in the past relevant to this topic, and then we'll end the class. You don't have to look towards the watch. I have 3, one here, and one there. So, do you want to discuss in next class if you are tired or? बहुत सारे हैं. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7. लेट्स टेक अ लुक. 5 मिनट में खत्म करते हैं, जल्दी जल्दी डिस्कस करके, ठीक है? ओके. Tell me the answer to this question. In the case of one of the following biogeochemical cycles, the weathering of rocks is the main source of release of nutrients to enter the cycle. Which cycle? One of the following biogeochemical cycles, the weathering of rocks. Listen, read the term carefully. Weathering of rocks is the main source of release of nutrients to enter the cycle. What would be the answer? Yes. Phosphorus is normally released from the rocks, है ना? ठीक. आगे बढ़े. Okay. Which of the following is the process involved in photosynthesis? Fast. Potential energy is released to form free energy. Free energy is converted into potential energy and stored. Food is oxidized to release carbon dioxide and water. Oxygen is taken and carbon dioxide and water vapor are given out. Right. Okay. Correct answer. What is the advantage of zero tillage? 1. Sowing of wheat is possible without burning the residue of the previous crop. Without the need for a nursery of rice saplings, direct planting of paddy seeds in the wet soil is possible. Carbon sequestration in the soil is possible. Everything is possible. Okay. In the context of mitigation and impending global warming due to anthropogenic emission of carbon dioxide, which of the following can be the potential site for carbon sequestration? Abandoned and economic coal seams, depleted oil and gas reservoirs, subterranean deep saline formations. All. You can read about it, about sequestration and carbon storage. Capture, storage and sequestration. These three terminologies you should read about. Which of the following adds or add carbon dioxide to the carbon cycle? Volcanic action, respiration, photosynthesis, or decay of organic matter? Yes. Yes. Now, whether photosynthesis does or not, see the UPSC official answer key and then come back. Okay? We'll discuss in next class. No worries. Look for this question, this particular question, right? Which adds carbon. Look for the official answer key. Look for the official answer paper or official answer set and then see what they have considered. Okay? Make sense? I don't know. In the context of India's preparation for climate smart agriculture, consider the following statement. The climate smart villages approach is part of project led by CCAFS, an international research program. The project is carried out under the consultative group on international agriculture research headquartered in France. The International Crop Research Institute for the Semi-Arid Tropics, that is ICRISAT, in India is one of the CGIAR's research center. No idea? Look for the answer. Look for the official answer key. Look for the answer. Okay? Which of the following practices can help in water conservation in agriculture? Reduced or zero tillage of the land, adding gypsum before irrigating the field, or allowing crop residue to remain in the field. Why? Why it is wrong? Yes, but why it is added? It is added to soils. By why it is added? No, the purpose is different. It is applied to soils, but the purpose is different. You are right. The second option is incorrect. That leaves us with 1 and 3. But the purpose is this. This is a screenshot from NCRT, from the saline, from the soils chapter. Read it. Can read it? In such areas, especially in Punjab and Haryana, farmers are advised to add gypsum to solve the problem of salinity in the soil. Yes, it is added for salinity problem, not for the water issue. Make sense? Is that clear? It is written in NCRT. In 11th to 12th class, there are 4 or 5 types of soils are given: alkaline, montane, black soil, alluvial. Yes, right? It is mentioned there. We will discuss these questions in next class. Since I need to explain some of the things. However, this covers our carbon farming, right? Okay. And this also concludes today's current affairs class. These were the things which were there in news in the last week. Again, on the verge of sounding repetitive, please, for the love of God and UPSC and all the gods you have in mind, read newspaper, see PYQs. They are the guiding light which will help you in the maze, which is UPSC exam. ठीक है? Sorry? हाँ. Carbon farming thing. I skipped or you skipped? Okay. The Hindu and Indian Express. This is majorly the Hindu. Yes, this is majorly the Hindu. You have got the notes. Now go home, search about the keywords suffixed by the Hindu, and you'll find everything in last week. Everything is from last week. Right? So my classes will be more beneficial to you if you do a little bit of reading yourself. Right? So at least you'll know the context. Ab you know about that interim bail wala news. So you'll be more interested in understanding what is interim bail, what is judicial custody, what is police custody. Right? If you do not know what has happened in the past week, you'll not be able to understand why this particular thing is important. Or if you'll know about Kerala's governor's issue, you will know that this is in news. Okay, this is in context of that. Article 361 is being discussed in that context. Make sense? All right. Thank you so much.